recording. Well, we've never spoken, so why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
I will. I had just said to my son this morning, I said, because when I got the meeting, there's a little thing you do, a little blurb about yourself. And I'm like, I probably should have given him a little bit more information so he'd just be prepared. So because I just did, it was like a tiny paragraph, but.
I'm used to going into these things blind.
Yeah, so I figured you'd be okay. So, well, first of all, I was like obviously really excited to get a spot. And I had just like 2 nights ago, I started, well, I'll just randomly watch certain videos and usually finish them. But I watched one with the fellow Ryan, I think it was a new one you had posted. And he had said how he went in and clicked it and there was a spot and his heart was racing. And I was like, and that's how I felt because I went on like that night, like 10 minutes later. And I thought I'm just going to do it again. And it kind of just, it's like a little game. Like
yeah.
This, whether I wanted to do this conversation or not, I thought, okay, I'll just see if I can do it. And it was there and I almost didn't click it. I thought, do I want to do this? I thought, well, whatever, I could cancel. And then so I told my son, Ethan, and because he's the one that kind of got me onto you. And anyways, I was excited. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, why I would do this. And then like an hour later, I said to Ethan, now I'm just like, I don't think an hour is going to be enough. I don't think I'll be able to finish talking in this hour. So anyways, I have like a whole bunch of stuff to just written down, but probably won't get to any of it. But.
Well, I'll give you a pro tip. If there are 2 slots available, I often don't have things after the second slot. So if, there's always the possibility of going longer with the second slot. So I always say, 2 slots and then you got to ask for more. So you've still got another golden ticket out there.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Well, so anyways, all I had written to you is just that I am a Christian and was brought up Baptist. And so I guess maybe I'll start with how I found you.
Okay.
Trying to get my story. What's the easiest way? Because I really get off track easily. Let me see.
Unlike me.
That's right. Well, right before I started this, I thought I just watched one of your recent randos. I thought, okay, I'm just going to watch it and it'll make me feel better because I think they all just ramble too on everything, right? And so you both do. You both rambled a lot, so I felt better. So, but okay, I'll start with myself. Just that I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada,
okay.
And we are. I'm on a boat at the moment, but
I wondered.
Yeah, and we just live. It's this Digby, Nova Scotia, which is a little town, and but I knew kind of where you were from, the East Coast,
right?
Possibly you knew what Nova Scotia was.
Yeah.
Most
I'm a big Oak Island fan. I
yes.
fantasize about Nova Scotia.
Okay, well, so and we actually just live. Our house is just like 15 minutes from here, across counties. At the moment during COVID, our counties we're all not supposed to leave our counties, but anyways, we're kind of right like minutes between these 2 places, so it doesn't matter. But come the summer, we mostly spend it here at a marina with about 15 boats, right? And so, which is where my husband works in this area. So anyhow, that's why I'm here. So let me start why I came here from Ontario. So when I was 5, my dad and my mom's family had already kind of made their way back east. They were from New Brunswick, and they had moved here, and then my parents followed. So my dad became a minister. He worked like in social services, and he came to go to school at Acadia, which is one of the big universities here, and a divinity college. So he became a Baptist minister, and so when I was 5, so my whole life has been like that. Like I don't really remember learning about, like I don't remember not believing in Jesus, right? Like it was just sort of part of your upbringing.
Yep.
But I say that, and it still wasn't. I've always joked, but you haven't heard my jokes yet, so they're not old yet to you. But we didn't say grace, like we didn't. It was not a strict upbringing in any way. Like we said grace when company came, and we prayed in church, of course, and stuff. And it wasn't like a fakeness. It was just my parents weren't like super strict about stuff.
Okay.
But I grew up in the church in the 80s. Where I was born in 72, so by the early 80s. Some people don't seem to remember it, but actually I think Jonathan Pazzo just mentioned something about the weirdness of not weirdness, but they were burning music around here, some churches. Yeah. It was like the 80s thing. And
I remember that.
it really got turned off a lot of people by the time I was a teenager.
Yeah.
They were like weirded out, right? And somehow it never really affected me. I just thought it was a little strange, but it didn't affect my faith or anything. But so after that, well, let me see. I don't know how much more I got so much I could tell you, but at 14, my dad joined the military without telling my mother, actually. It's just a whole other side story. So we all moved. He was like filling in as a pastor, as a chaplain, kind of just at the nearby base. And so it's kind of a joke. I mean, I think they had discussed it somewhat, but anyways, there's many layers, all kinds of stuff. But anyhow, we moved just not too far from here, but my mom's family is all right here in Digby. My dad had already left his family in Ontario. We moved just an hour away to Greenwood to a base, and he became chaplain. And that was kind of what eventually they separated, was the story. So they divorced, and he has since they've gone on to their own lives, which is fine. And he has since married his new wife is a Baptist minister, or was a chaplain, Protestant minister, Anglican, I guess is her background. But okay, let me start. So let me go another path now. Let me see. Get too far into myself. So after my poor family will listen to this. My husband and kids, they've already heard the rambling so much our entire life together. But so
my wife doesn't listen to any of my videos. She's like, why would I do that?
I know, and it's true. And actually, my husband, like my kids will definitely watch it, and my husband's like, well, no, I'll watch some of it. I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch all of it. But meanwhile, when I was 16, living just a little ways from Digby area, my husband was from here, and through my sister, we met and we dated since we were 16. So I've never really left the area, right? I kind of came back here, went to nursing school, not too far from here, and yeah, so that's that background. But now I thought I'd have a lot more interesting things to say about it, but
it's all been interesting. Keep going.
Okay, but now let me back up and see, as far as Christianity part, okay, and then we'll get into my children. I never did not believe, and I didn't. My whole little childhood was about converting everyone I could, and not too obnoxious about it and not arrogant, but just praying. And I prayed for family members that didn't believe, the ones that pretended they were Buddhists, and all of it. I just thought, okay, I'll just pray for them. And I mean, I was, pretty intense as a 10-year-old. Like it was, and like I said, it didn't really come from my parents, because I knew they believed in God and stuff, but it wasn't like there wasn't the daily bread in the morning. Like I had church, there were church members that's what they did. Like it was strict, and my family kind of wasn't fake, but it wasn't instilled at home like that, right? I mean, if I had a question, I'd talk to my dad about God, but myself personally, I just never doubted it, right? And then I was really open to everything, and I was the youngest of 3 girls, so 10 is what really stands out in my mind, and they would have been like 12 and 14. They got to the age of kind of like, well, they became teenagers, right? So I prayed for them too, because of everything going on in their lives. And so at 10, this is my big thing, that it wasn't big at the time, but I had like a dream. And so I don't know if I've told the story over many times, and nobody really seems to be that impressed by it. But when I was small, like 10, I had a dream, and just a short little dream about it was a picture of a sick old lady, and it had a Bible verse, and it was James 5:14 about healing the sick, or I've got it here. But so all it appeared, like when I think back, it was like a little newspaper clipping, maybe looked like sick old lady, James 5:14. And I can remember getting up and reading it in the night, and I was really open to any of that. Like, just, I didn't think I was like a prophet. I didn't think anything. I just thought it was sort of normal, right? Like, sure. But I was open to it. And I remember telling my
I would assert that is actually normal.
What's that?
I would say that is actually normal. It's just everybody covers it up.
Well, yeah. And so I told my parents about it, and they, if they watched it, they'll be like, well, I don't know if they'd remember, or if they also just took it for granted that they just knew that I was a spiritual child and whatever. But I don't
Yeah.
remember them being too amazed by it.
Yeah.
And so it was just sort of one of those things, whatever. And then as I went on, like got older, I it's kind of like, it's not, and I wasn't even a big drinker. I mean, I had times in my life where I drank more alcohol, you know, in the evenings, or if we once in a blue moon had a party or something. And that story always came up to whoever wanted to live, you know, people were kind of drawn to me because they knew I was openly Christian and I had no problem talking about it. And it was all about Jesus loves you. In certain situations, I knew when to hold back. But so even as an adult, I shared that story with people, and I don't know what they thought of it. They probably thought it was crazy. And plus, it's like it's my story, so they're like, we don't even know if she's made that up or if we don't really care because we don't believe in God and we don't think he's real. But it's, you know, she seems kind of nice, so maybe she's not like trying to like do anything bad with that. But so whatever. Regardless, that dream has always been in my mind. And then I think as I got older, I looked at it like a way of, I just told my son today, I said, let me talk about that dream, because it was almost like a grounding for me. Like, no matter what goes on, as I explored other religions, I mean, I never seriously I can't say I really opened up my heart to not being a Christian, because it just didn't make sense. But I certainly opened myself up to understanding other things, maybe it not being just as I was taught as a Baptist, not like I was taught in the 80s. But the dream, I thought, why would I have that if God wasn't speaking to me about something in the Bible and about the Christian Bible, the New Testament even, right? And I'm like, there's gotta be something there. It just means that whenever I have doubts, whenever it's too much, I'll just think, I know that was real, and I'll use that to stand on, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's what it became. And then that is what it is for me. But I also got obsessed with the book of James, because it's so short, so it wasn't hard to read. Because I have not read the whole Bible. Even though when people hear me go on, they'll ask me Bible questions, or on Jeopardy when the Bible questions come, they look at me and I'm like, I get them all wrong, right? I can't speak that fast. But I did start like analyzing the book of James and going into it. And I had talked to my dad about it, and he's like pretty logical, which I like. Like, he's not unlike me, but he's kind of even, where my mom's a little more, well, not even. And so he just sort of like would say, you know, well, it was first one that told me that it was Martin Luther. He said didn't really like the book because it was about earning your faith, right? And then I remember telling the story after he first said that years ago. And I said to him, well, yeah, you know how you said it was Martin Luther King? And he's like, well, not Martin Luther King. And so when I look back, I realized how little I hadn't read up on that stuff yet. Anyways, my history challengedness was showing. So I knew that there were issues with that book in the Bible. And then that even intrigued me more. And then over the last few years, I was like so intrigued that I like to believe it was written by James, the brother of Jesus. Now, I know that's controversial too,
Sure.
but that kind of intrigued me. I thought, that's got to be something too, right? And then I'd look at the verses all around it, and then whatever. And I had a list of a few more things with it. It'll come to me, and it'll bring in all these other things we've been talking about, that Jordan Peterson and Jonathan Pajot and you, and the stuff of meaning. And at least people can pause this. So they can pause this and think about if I'm talking too fast. So there was something Jordan had said a bit ago, like a couple of years ago, about acting out. How does that go? Anyway, I forget all this stuff, but like, you act out, your truth is what you're acting out. I got it wrong, but it's something.
Your religion is what you act out.
Yes, exactly. And so I kind of thought, it triggered something in the book of James. My thought of, it doesn't just, like, I believe that once you're saved, you're saved. Like, I'm not big on, I guess I don't think you really earn it at all. But I think the book of James opened up for me, thinking that obviously if you're a believer and your faith is real, you're going to act in that way, right? And so that sort of triggered that. And then it was that moment of, like I said to Ethan, my son, back then I said, like had like something washed over me. I said, I got to take a break because I feel like I'm trying to make too much meaning out of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're seeing signs somewhere and then you're like, is this real or am I just insane? But I feel confident that things that we see meaning in actually do have meaning, and I don't really question the same. But in a minute, I'll let you speak. But let me see about.
No, I'm fine. You keep going.
See, I knew an hour probably wouldn't. Oh, we're only 17 minutes into
We're
it.
doing good. We're doing good. Keep going. You're on a roll.
I said, so what happened was, with the reason I even got to you was with my son, and I have a daughter who I try to speak of too, but it's Ethan and I that have been talking so much because he's been living home with us.
How old is Ethan?
Ethan's 23.
Okay.
And so he's home. I'm making it like he's 10, right? My buddy.
I've never met Ethan, so I don't know. I don't think a lot of 10-year-olds watch my videos, but 23 makes more sense.
Probably not. So he's 23. But so when he started out his sort of journey of all this stuff. He just graduated from university yesterday. He and his girlfriend. They've been living home with us for a year because of COVID. And so 5 years ago, he left off for university. And so it was 2016 when everything was beginning to start with all this stuff, right? And somewhere through that year, he found Jordan Peterson, right? Kind of on his own. Like he was taking, he was at the University of King's College, and it does this like foundation year, and they do like just there's so many books of like way like I don't even know how to explain, like a lot of literature, right, of all like the history like way back when. And so he was required to read a lot of that stuff, but I don't think he read much of it, right? He read what he had to get through his year. But as well on his own, he was sort of like, I don't know how he ended up. I guess he was just found Jordan Peterson through the Bill C-16 thing that I think everybody did. And then eventually that got to Jonathan Pageau and everything else, right? And so when he started, I right away took to Jordan because I felt he was, I'm a little bit, I guess, not a devil's advocate, but I don't like when, like I knew it was being misunderstood. I knew he was misunderstood from the beginning, right?
Yeah,
and I thought, I just, I don't think people understand what's going on here. And I'd watch something of Jordan's through Ethan, and then I'd be like, I'd hear somebody talk about him, right? Or even in my like sort of in my area, it soon became a name. It's like, ooh, they don't want to talk about Jordan. I knew what they felt about him, and I didn't know where it was coming from. So I was like, but you don't understand. Like, have you listened to him? Like, I don't think you understand what he's saying. And so then I kind of got into like I got into watching quite a bit of it, and it's only so much you can watch, right? So it takes a lot of time, but I'd try to understand, and we'd have big discussions about it. My poor husband would just like, it was just constant, like whenever Ethan would come home, we'd just have these big discussions about it, and our daughter too, Hannah. And we just kind of got, I don't think we got obsessed with it, but you just couldn't help like just watching the stuff. And then I found that I was defending him. Like I found like I was going to Bible study, and I got to Bible study with a bunch of ladies. They were like a few grades ahead of me. Mostly they're in their 70s and 80s years old. And I started bringing up Jordan Peterson, and I felt like I was sort of defending it. And then I thought I got so like I'd watch something in the next week at Bible study. I'd mention something I'd read that week, but I wouldn't say it was from Jordan, not to hide him. But I thought as soon as people hear Jordan's name, they're like, oh, okay, I see. Yeah. He's that right wing guy. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh. And so anyhow, but it wasn't soon after I got into him, it was the biblical lectures. And that just like things lined up inside of me. And I saw it in Ethan, right? Like Ethan and Hannah, we did not go to church regularly, like surprisingly growing up. I taught Sunday school, and they helped, and we'd go to our like tiny churches. And then it kind of get slack, and we didn't do that. We just didn't go regularly. But I never we always spoke openly about God, and it was laziness, I know. And sometimes there are other things just come up, and you have your little wall up about certain stuff, but it was never, I never had I never not went to church because I didn't like it. it was just, we were doing something on Sunday.
Mhm.
And I figured I could just sort of, I could do this in my own home, right? Like I
Yeah.
could still do this. And I know now we need a little more than that. But so anyhow, let's go with that. They grew up knowing all about Jesus, but I don't know that they ever had it for themselves the same way I did, right? Like I was obviously, like I said, was into it, baptized at 10, which was young in our church because I was ready and I knew it. But so our daughter got dedicated into a church. Our poor son didn't because we weren't going at the time.
Mhm.
So, and neither have been baptized, and it's I don't know if that will come for them or whatever. But to me, it's always been symbolic, anyways, right? And so anyhow, they knew they had their faith, and I knew they had some faith, but I didn't know what it was. Because it's so personal, right? And they always humored me, or they just allowed me to ramble on about stuff. But sometimes it would just get too much. If I get ranting about it or in it, they'd kind of shut down, or Ethan certainly would shut down, right? And I think he kind of just needed to find it for himself or not. And so through Jordan, I saw it. Like I saw the light in his eyes with it, right? Like the interest in it and the meaning. And that's when I felt like things were like synchronizing, I guess. I'm trying to find the right word for it, but that there was a reason why we were watching Jordan, right? There was a reason. There was more to this Jordan Peterson than just Bill C-16.
Yep. Yep.
And then with Jonathan Pageau, I just, at first I'd listened to him a little bit, but only through Jordan, right? And now I've been just, since this winter, just been listening to so much. And I think it was the video, of course, the one in January with Jordan kind of breaking down. And I shared a Bible study recently because it's like I was waiting for it, right? I was just waiting for Jordan to just feel it that it was real, right? And I just felt for him, like as a Christian. And so anyways, I've been watching a lot of Jonathan. And that's where Ethan's like, you gotta watch Paul Vanderklay. You gotta, and he watches I think it's Sitch and Adam.
Oh yeah.
So when we've been home, I tell you a lot together. Because I'm a nurse, but I don't work now, and I don't work outside the home. So sometimes somebody will just have a podcast on in the house going on, and I'll be like, who are these people again? What are they talking about? And I just find myself laughing at them, and that's Ethan said, yeah, that they talk about Paul Vanderklay too. So anyways, then I watched you. Man, it just all felt good because you can get confusing to me. I will tell you, you're obviously pretty intelligent. And I can follow most of it. But like I said to Ethan, sometimes I go through like really in the mood to listen to Jordan and it's just been so good to see him back, right? And I just really have been, it was just like so happy for him. And then I'll listen to Jonathan Pageau and it's like, so good, and I'll write little notes, and then sometimes I just need a break. I think I just need to listen to Paul Vanderklay instead. I just need just some, and then you get confusing too sometimes, and so I have to shut it all off. But I watched just the other day your Fred and Paul, your newest Fred and Paul video.
Freddie and Paul show.
But I said to even, you know what, like okay, let's see. I had a little note. I was watching some video the other day, and I said it was like, oh yeah, I think Jonathan Pageau had said something about you guys must have been talking about the deep weird. Was that you or no? That might have been a different. I think that might have been a different video. I get them all confused. I should have written them down. But you were talking about the Protestants sort of like flatten things out.
Yeah.
Like he's all about like he was talking about that some of those things aren't really weird. It's actually just like an intuitive description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of how reality unfolds. And
yeah.
The Protestants flattening it, and I don't even know if I'm on the same wavelength here, but my feeling is that watching maybe the Fred and Paul thing, I feel like the Jordan stuff and the Jonathan stuff and the stuff you've been doing is just like ringing true to me, because it's like it's everything I ever believed. Now it's finally being spoken in a way, an intellectual way, I guess, more than just the blind faith thing, right? But then I was thinking that when I watched the video the other day and just hearing just regular people talk about stuff, how important that is too. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, when it comes down to it, that is what it's about.
Yes.
And we can all try to be intellectual about it. Well, I'm glad people are being intellectual about it.
Yes.
For so long, it's like Christianity, and well, not for so long, but in the recent, my whole experience, Christianity is just always, we watch Survivor. I don't know if you watch Survivor.
I have in the past. I haven't recently.
But any person that is on that is Christian, something usually happens. Something usually goes wrong. It's usually something weird, right? And I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong, like they're testifying, they've got their faith, but some way on any show, they're always put in some sort of weird light, right? And I get it. I understand that, right?
Sure.
But it's not a true representation of Christianity, right? It's a little deeper than that. And that's, like I said, that's not to say anything negative about any of the people there that are professing their faith. It's kind of how it's twisted, you know what I mean? Or it's twisted by other people with it.
Reality shows are scripted. I mean, they're unscripted, but they are edited, and there's a narrative that the producers create.
They do, right? And I think they're not interested in creating Christianity.
No, I don't think that's a big.
I don't think that's their first thing. And then the other thing too that's kind of like a meaningful, funny thing here is that both of my kids now, our daughter Hannah is like super artistic, and I said, like, I remember when she was little and she all of a sudden could draw better than me. Like, I can't draw really, but like at 7 or something, right? It's a weird feeling when you all of a sudden know you've helped create a life that's like goes way beyond you, right? And and so she went on to she didn't know what she wanted to do after school, and she has, you know, some anxiety and those kind of things of leaving home, and not just leaving home, just she has some anxiety, right? And she's done really well to overcome that on her own. And but I'm saying she did leave home and went to like a film school. She went to, well, it's an art school, NASCAD, and she didn't know what she wanted to do and ended up with a major in film. And so we were very proud of her, graduated, and now she's in teaching. So her path has taken her to an elementary school teacher. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm just so happy for her, because she's 26 now and kind of really feeling like something is, you know, she's on the right path. And but when she graduated, she was kind of like, what am I gonna do with a film degree? It's kind of like, and I said, I think we're the only family that ever encouraged a child to but it was like, I knew it would be a base. I knew she wanted to do something, and I knew it would be a base, and it was to take her degree for teaching, right? So it did work out in her case. But my son also is obsessed, and I'm gonna plug in for his channel later. So he does like movie reviews and different stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And so he was going to follow that path of her. He wasn't sure what to do, but the university she went to required at the time drawing. He had to do a bunch of stuff to get in. If he can't, he's worse than me, like stick bad. And he's like, it was too daunting for him to try to get into it. They've since lowered the bar a little bit. If you want to take film at that school, you don't have to be able to draw. So he applied to another film school, like a community college, and was rejected. He didn't get into that. And then ended up on this path to this university, right? Where his friend was going, and you know, and not that community college isn't, it's obviously difficult to get into certain programs, but I kind of had in my head, okay, well, he'll go that path maybe. And when he didn't even get into that, I'm like, what is going on, right? And then he got into the university, and in the end, kind of, you couldn't major in film there, but he pursued like a minor in it. Anyway, long story short, he's kind of on the path to teaching possibly. And
good.
He graduated, he ended up majoring in English and had to switch his minor to psychology, and had to give up the film minor, but he's still obsessed with it. So it's just funny because
there's always YouTube.
That's right. And so the last 5-6 videos I watched of you, and even some of Jonathan, so I end up talking about film stories. It's always been a big, I didn't think of it as a big deal in our family, but I realized that it's been a big part of, like, you know, like I said, my daughter's not really going to be working in it, but her boyfriend of many years now is working in film, right?
Wonderful.
In our area in Halifax. And so that kind of still became part of her story. And Ethan's is like well, it's just a big part of it, right? And so it's just interesting how all these things, every time I hear like about narratives, and you had said about I still have to watch the parasitic
Yeah, parasitic storytelling. It's terrific video.
Yeah, so I haven't watched that one
Probably
yet.
my favorite Peugeot video.
Is it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay, so now I'm gonna let you talk for a minute, and then I'll see if there's something else I have to say.
Okay, what do you want me to talk about?
Don't know. But okay, well, if you're not ready, I thought you'd be ready with.
No, you keep going. I think you're doing great. I'm all ears here.
Okay, and I'm trying to kind of make sense. I was laughing. I said to after I got the.
Well, okay. So now I have a question. I have a question. So you've got a daughter, and she's landed on a career, and she's doing well. And your son, he just graduated. He's getting a good start. Why is this kind of stuff you're listening important to you?
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting question. It's hard to put.
Because you're, I mean, for me, you and I, close to the same age, probably. You're a little younger, but my kids, I've got one kid left in college. I've got 4 that have graduated college. They're getting their start out into the world. And so for me, that's kind of like, okay, good. That's, from the time my wife and I started having children until sort of the time you get them graduated out of college, still have some of them living home, but part of that's COVID and high cost of housing in California, yada, yada, yada. But, the kids are almost out.
Yes.
So now, it's time for, okay, now this chapter in life, what are the priorities? And I think a lot of times when you get to this, now I'm thinking I'm getting into my late 50s, it's about, okay, now it's sort of time to accumulate the wisdom that I've gathered throughout my life, whatever it may be, and give that back to the world. And that's part of what I'm doing. And so I listen to, I do find the fact that as many people and my channel isn't a big channel by any means, but as many people who listen to my channel as they do, I'm always a bit surprised by this, because I don't really see myself as a content creator in this. I'm much more thinking out loud, and it's sort of an invitation to think with me about Christianity in the world, and the kinds of stuff I talk about. I mean, that's basically what my channel is. And so then my question is, okay, how is this helpful to you?
To me?
Yeah, to you.
Real question. This isn't rhetorical.
No, it's a real question. Well, I don't have anybody else in front of me, so might as well ask you.
Okay, so well, I don't know. And I think in my little blurb that I had messaged to you, that I love, like, I enjoy conversation. I enjoy like just details of stuff, right? And so I think, yeah, okay. Personally, I think that I have been searching for ways since I was a child to, I don't know if it's, I guess it's in the traditional sense, to be like giving a testimony or evangelizing, sort of. I've come across a lot of people in my life that just don't, they either pretend they're atheists. I don't really believe them fully, but I get it. They can't swallow all of this, right? And they're just, they don't believe, right? And so I've always struggled with wanting to not convert them, but I mean, when I was a child, I wanted to convert them, right? I wanted to save as many as I could, and be as good of an example as I could. And so as an adult, I think I still try that, but I'm trying to, I think my ultimate goal, is to be the best that I can, but show God through me, show Christ through me, through a life like that. And I know that requires some improvement. Yeah. I'm not really living up to it all, but I mean, basically it's not hard for my nature. Like I heard you say before, like, oh, it's easy for Paul. It's easy for Paul because Paul likes it's easy for Paul to be in a good mood because Paul's easygoing, or it's something you had said and I have always said that about myself. It's easy for me because I don't feel I get mad. I mean, I had a little notice there about my internet, but I guess sorry.
You're doing fine. No hiccups yet.
I obviously I get upset. I do get upset, and I think I've been told sometimes I'm a little bit passive aggressive.
Okay.
I think my kids have told me that there's a little bit. I would disagree, argue with it, because I'm pretty like an open book, but I get it. Some of the things you say to your kids are kind of like, I will agree, but mostly I don't have those feelings of like, I don't anger easily. I don't, even like when I've been in, I know I've been insulted to my face, and I'm often, I think, viewed as either naive or like in a bubble or doesn't penetrate, but it really doesn't. I get it. I'm not stupid, but it doesn't stab me in the heart, right? I mean, I get stabbed in the heart sometimes, but not by that, right? So my point is, it's my personality is fairly easy, I think, right? Like it's easy to be nice to people. I find it hard to be mean to people, right? So, and I've said I do joke about one of my sisters. She's sort of a little more difficult growing up, right? Like a little more, and it's harder for her. She's learned to deal with that personality. But I always said, even when I was small, I had a sense of that's not her fault. I mean, you take responsibility, but it's not your fault that God made you that way.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I felt that way when I was like 10. I thought it's not that I sound like a little bit like it's not arrogant. I don't think it is. It probably sounds that way, but it's that I knew I was born with an easier personality.
Sure.
And
It doesn't sound arrogant to me.
And then I think I should not necessarily a gift, but it's one of my things that I should certainly do the best that I can with it, right? Whether it's I don't know what. And so trying to get to your point of why I like listening, I like all this stuff, and I like delving into it, and I like trying to figure out stuff. And so I said recently at Bible study, I do joke because I really am. Well, I'm 49, and the minister actually just turned 50, but everyone else is a lot like 70. Yeah. Somebody, I better say it. Last say if they ever find this video and they're 69, I do insult them, whatever. But there's certainly 80-year-olds there, right?
Yeah.
And so I get chatting with them, and sometimes I have just so much to say from this kind of stuff, this content, and I cannot articulate it yet. Like I'm bad, and I started, and I start some little stammering thing about it, and I tell our minister, he's interested, and he's trying to get me to finish a sentence. Just keep going. Just try to say it. And most of the people there, it's not that they're not intelligent. They could understand it if they wanted to. They don't have an interest, or it's just, if you don't watch hours of these videos, you can't even begin to understand what someone's trying to explain, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a better grasp of it and say it more in layman's terms. And I'm also trying to be there, I think, for the younger generation. Like I said to our minister, I said, I think younger people need, like my son. My daughter, not so much, because she's like, maybe, I don't even know that she's my personality, but she doesn't, maybe her faith is, I shouldn't say it's been easier. Like she doesn't go to church either. She's not practicing, but she has, in any time, she does not find it difficult to pray or turn to God, right? Even if it's just herself, her own personal relationship. And I don't know. I think that Ethan is getting that or has that in his own way. But so I will take my son, for example. I said, I think this generation needs more than, well, you go to church because this is what we do, and you just believe it because it's real. Like, and I know that, so I guess what my quest might be a little bit is trying to, I like what's happening here. I like that there is real, I said to Ethan, it's almost like all this stuff for me, I've never not had a faith, and I don't have to relay that to people because it is a leap of faith. If you don't believe any of it, like it's hard to express that to someone. But this stuff is almost like it's like concrete, and I don't need to see, like I don't actually have to see things to believe. But everything that we talk about here is just so how do we say it? It's got a lot of bite to it, right? Like it's like I feel like it's so let me start again. I've said in conversations that I think, though the older generation, I think, fears that God is going to be destroyed. I don't know, or there'll be no God left. Forgotten. The little churches are going, everything's going, and
in my churches bubble, are full of old people.
And I get it. I get it because I don't even the faith, the belief I have, and I'm not even going to church. So I'm one of the people. I am going some. I did go back recently, and then the COVID shut us down again. But so I understand that I'm not participating in the church. I, of all people, would be the one that should be taking up for that last generation.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be the old generation, and so I get why they're worried, but I just keep with saying that I really feel something, like, and I can't explain it to them fully, but I said I feel there's something happening, right? And I see it firsthand in my son, and I see it firsthand in all these videos that I watch. There's something happening, and church may not be what we all see it as today. I don't know. I mean, I still think there might be a return to it, right? Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm not frightened. Like, I'm not frightened about it. And I don't know what it looks like exactly at all. I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel positive that there's something going on. And so watching your stuff, just, I don't know, I just like it.
Okay. Well, I hear you. I hear what you're saying as sense making.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the world is very big, and all of these terms, so I want to grasp it. All of this is about taking this very large world with all kinds of things going on. We get all these signals towards us, and we have to turn it into, and even all these metaphors, we have to turn it into a picture. We have to turn it into a story. We have to turn it into something approachable enough for us to enter and participate in a meaningful, productive way. And, your story of, your parents and your father's journey and your faith and your dream. And, that James verse is a very famous verse. The book of James is an interesting book. And, if you understand Luther and where he was at, you can understand why he finds it to be an epistle of straw.
Yeah.
But Luther never got his way. It was never dropped from the canon for good reasons. And the verse that you reference, is there any among you who are sick? Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith will save the sick man, and the Lord will raise him up. And if he committed sins, he will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins one to another, pray for one another, that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous man has great power in its effect. Elijah was a man of like nature with ourselves, and he prayed fervently that it might not rain. And for 3 years and 6 months it did not rain on the earth. Then he prayed again, and the heavens gave rain, and the earth brought forth its fruit. My brethren, if anyone among you wanders from the truth, and someone brings him back, let him know that whoever brings back a sinner from the error of his way will save his soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins. It's not a bad dream to have.
It's good.
It's not a bad dream. And it to me, I don't. So, of course, in our modern skeptical buffered self world, we're rather dismissive of dreams, but dreams may be difficult to understand, but they are not random.
Yes. Yeah.
And I listen to your story, and I hear that verse come through your story. Now I hear a longing for the sick to be healed, and for prayers to be answered.
Yeah.
And for people to have hope. Yes. And that wanderers, you're again, you're talking to me from a boat. And it's one of the first things I noticed. I thought, is she in a boat? Is that you're the first person that's ever, had a randos chat with me from a boat. And that's highly symbolic.
Yes. Yeah. See,
You're on this, I don't know what body of water you're on.
oh, now look, it's the Atlantic Ocean sort of, but it's the basin. It's the Annapolis Basin.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah. But you're on salt water. You're
yeah.
in the sea. You're in a
Yes.
boat on the sea. And I hear in you, and just from, you're not an anxious sort. I mean, that's been clear, but you are, I do hear in you something of definitely an evangelist, definitely a missionary. And what you want for people are good things. You don't want sickness, you want health. You don't want lostness, you want foundness. And you have your Bible study with the saints who are anxious about the future. And my entire life, I have heard the older generation be anxious about the future and the future of the church. I think I think, often people will look at churches and see them full of old people and say, see, the church is dying because it's full of old people. And there is a point to that because, there's a lot of data about churches, and the church has grown older in the last 30, 40 years. A lot of this can be attributable to the ups and downs in church. And even those who are, like Jonathan Peugeot, who are going back to very ancient churches, modernize those churches by their presence and their influence. So I think you're making sense, and I think you're looking for meaning and healing, and you're looking for, even by the way you opened this conversation with a dream, which I liked. You're looking for us to be less buffered from God,
Yes. Yes.
and for God to be real,
Yeah.
and for our prayers to be answered, and for God to be known and seen in his glory. That's what I hear from what you said. And that's all a good thing.
And it's funny that well, I just recently said to the kids that I and actually I just recently bought us all the Message Bible. I had to look it up, so I was a little weirded out that I don't even read the Bible that much, but I always
Eugene Peterson's Bible. Yep.
So I always go to King James Version. And then I don't know why. And then I thought, you know what? We just need something here because because my son's girlfriend lives with us too. And we get talking all this stuff and it's complicated. Like it's complicated, right? And they're both English. They just both were English majors. They've read complicated things.
Yeah.
They're pretty capable, but still complicated. And so I'm just going to get something basic. And he's got his whole little, not warning, but he's like, you're going to want to study Bible along with it. You're going to want a Bible too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got that hoping that would sort of get the message out to them a little bit too. But it's kind of funny because I sent off a little scripture. Oh, I had written, we put paper on our table all through COVID. We put, like at the restaurants.
Yeah.
At IKEA. It's really cheap. And this paper, so every day we draw and doodle stuff on it and write messages. So the other day I just left I thought I'm just going to leave, instead of writing some sort of little Bible verse or something, I'm just going to write the Bible verse and not reveal it to them. And they actually have to take the step to look it up, right? I thought this would be fun. And they actually did. But in the message, it doesn't break it down like,
right.
It would have verse 6 to 8 or something.
Yep.
And so you can Google it all anyways, right?
Yep.
And so it really doesn't, but I know something my daughter had tried to look up. Which I thought was really sweet. She was feeling anxious one night and she looked at the time. She was waiting for her boyfriend to come home and she looked at the time and I forget what it was, but 6:27. Anyway, she looked it up, tried to look it up in the Message Bible. It was complicated. And so she Googled it and it was one that came up, one of the major ones. I had actually just talked about it with her in recent times, but about being anxious, right? It was in Matthew, I forget what it was. And it was just, and I always knew those kind of things had meaning. but I didn't want to make too much of them because I know it sounds insane a little bit, right? Like I thought you look up a verse, whatever, and
Don't let the culture bully you.
yeah, and so in
Don't
fact,
let the culture bully you. Stick to your dream.
and I've said to both, I mean, I've said to the kids, that's something.
Yeah.
That is something. I don't care what, but
Yeah.
back in my dream when I was 10, I thought, I used to say this like to everybody that I talk about it to. It's not a common book in the Bible. When you're 10, it's not a common book. Because I thought immediately they're gonna think, well, she saw that. She saw that Bible verse. She went to church. Her dad's a minister. She knew what James was. And except for memorizing the books of the Bible to get your Bible when you're 8 or 9.
Yep.
I didn't know the books of the Bible. I didn't even know James was in. I think it probably took my 10-year-old self a little while to find which part it was in, right? So I would always try to relay to people like it wasn't Psalm 3:16. It wasn't like John 3:16.
John 3:16. It wasn't the 23rd Psalm. Yep.
It wasn't this. You don't understand. It was from the book of James. Like, why would he? I didn't know what that was.
And it's an interesting verse for a 10-year-old. It's a very interesting, and that there was an old woman there. I mean, and I don't care. I mean, someone says, well, she was in church, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. I dream every night. But I have had dreams that stand out and are significant and that I remember. Yeah. And that isn't arbitrary either.
No.
And so I don't let this world bully you. I don't get the sense it does.
You know what? It is funny because it doesn't really, but I've said that recently.
I don't get the sense it does.
My son's poor girlfriend, because we got every day, my husband will text, so what are you guys doing? I'm like, talking, just talking again about anything. We get into political, we do it. I said to Ethan, I can't get into the politics today. I can't, because we're definitely, we're center to a little bit, not left, right? And I don't even, but right away, that makes me right winged here, right? Like, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. So I don't even, we're not in any way, but whatever. I said to Ethan, I brought it up, but I said, I'm going to try not to bring it up. It's just too much, right? It's too, but we could, I don't know, maybe the next conversation. But so his girlfriend, well, I said, I do feel for you because even our we are cut from the same cloth in the way that we like to, it's not that we like to even be right. Like I have no difficulty admitting I'm wrong because I often am, right? Like it's not that I need to be right, but I used to always joke, I don't argue about things I'm not right about. Like I don't.
That's a keeper.
So I learned when I got older that people don't find that funny, but that does sound conceited. It's
not conceited. It's just hilarious.
When I was a kid, I wouldn't, like, my friends would engage in a debate and I'd be like, but I wouldn't, if I didn't know this, I wouldn't argue with you, right? Like I'm not, and so I constantly try to convince them. And I learned a little bit to step back when I got older and not come across like that. But so for his girlfriend, I'll say she sometimes is on I said, I don't want you to feel you can't speak your mind or have a different opinion, right? Because the two of us do get going. Or I think what it was, we discovered we'll have a big debate, big discussion. We usually end up siding. We all kind of have the same opinions. And we try not to be like in the echo chamber of, like, I try to get outside opinions sometimes, right? But I've said, I don't, sometimes people might walk away from the conversation feeling like, not bad, I really don't even, I don't argue with people much, but I often leave a conversation. I've either my mind's been changed, or I'm confident in my original opinion, right? And I don't know if that sometimes comes across as like, I don't know how that could come across as opinionated, maybe as not wanting to be wrong. And it's not at all, because I think most of the time I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about or I am wrong. But the things I have a strong belief in or a faith in, especially faith, like no one's ever talked me out of being a Christian. And I don't even, there's just no, so I've debated with friends who don't have any faith, right? And they never win because it's not a fair argument, really. It's not a fair debate. Now I think do we have a few more minutes? Because there were a couple things here.
We gotta land the plane because I gotta get up and stretch, and I got another one at the top of the hour. So,
okay. So, no, you know what? I'm gonna leave you hanging. We're gonna have to wait because I think there's a whole
Okay, cliffhanger. There we go. Gotta
cliffhanger.
wait for the next one.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm so glad that I clicked the button and I didn't get scared.
Good, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad you didn't get scared either. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing.
Good. And
Never that my kids used to play Little Big Planet, and you get to the end of a level and no lives lost, and that's how I get to the end of a video. No lives lost.
No lives lost.
Everyone's,
It's all
everyone's
good.
doing okay. So I will send you this video and you can share it with your family, and then you can let me know what you'd like us to do with this.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine to post, but yeah, I can look
Well,
at
I'm
it.
going to wait until I hear from you because you mentioned your kids and the
I don't
kids.
care.
The
I-
kids, because if I post it and then I get an email from you, can you take that video down? That's
Okay,
less
well,
nice.
we'll check it out, but I'm pretty sure I had both of their approvals to say anything. And I didn't even say really what I was going to say. So we got to do it again.
Wow. So we're going to have to do it again.
Okay. Well, take care.
You too. Thank you so much for clicking on the button.
Okay. See ya.
Bye-bye.